Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Vox Jed. Fight About It. This is episode 53, our third episode back into season 2, and it's been a pretty good one. I feel like each week it's been getting a little bit better in just all of our lives in general. And
we spent some time.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We spent some time talking about that in the pre-show, the improvements to life on the whole lately. And we talked a lot of politics on this pre-show, which we don't do on this show very often. So if that interests you, that pre-show exists. But that should give you a good bit of groundwork as to where we're at headspace-wise going into this episode of Fight About It. But I personally am doing pretty good. I am sweating straight through my shirt because it's hot today. But generally, mentally, we're well. We're doing well today.
Yeah. Oh, man.
It
is currently a Thursday, the 19th. And, oh man, we had already talked about this on the pre-show, about how fucking crazy the week is, but it's been mainly just fucking about and having a good time with us, because we've actually...
For us personally, beyond, like, the state of the world, it's been a pretty fuck-around week for us.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about what we've been getting into recently.
What playing a lot of fucking Fortnite. We've been playing a lot of goddamn Fortnite. Alright, so they announced that Cartoon Dads were coming, and I was like, man, that looks interesting. What's the current season? And then I looked up what the current season was, saw that Superman was in the game, and I was like, fuck yeah, I love Superman, and I would like one of those Cartoon Dad skins. And so, like, I'm gonna get the fucking Battle Pass. I'm gonna get this new Fortnite crew thing, because it actually turned out to be a pretty, like, solid value. I'm not gonna sell you on it, you can Google it. But, like, I ended up getting the fucking monthly Fortnite subscription, which is honestly better for me, because I feel like if I can it after a month, and I just don't get the last month of the Battle Pass, I'm cool with that. Because the other option is, I will get bored of the game and exit my Fortnite phase before the Battle Pass is over anyway. You know? And so paying monthly and getting a shitload for, like, honestly cheaper, because you get, like, all the passes and shit, like, it's just the better way to do it for me. So I got that, you got that, Basil got that. We've all been grinding the fuck through that as time goes on, because it's a really good pass this time. There are a lot of good, like, skins, a lot of good songs, a lot of good everything, honestly. But
especially
we've been
with the,
playing
like, new Bruno Mars thing.
A lot of Fortnite, and you've been particularly on Fortnite Festival. You wanna have a talk about festival mode real quick? We'll start there.
Well, I recently we got into Fortnite last week. And I
it was
can't
last
remember if we
week.
talked about it on the show or not, but we did get into it last week. And over the course of this week, I was like, fuck it, I'm having a good enough time with this that I'm gonna get one of those Riff Masters, one of those, like, modern Guitar Hero controllers, and it's pretty damn good. I'm having a really good time with it. It's a different kind of rhythm game. Like, it was nice that I picked it up, because it is very much so more oriented to me than it is to you or Basil. And originally we were thinking about all getting it, and it's like, for the instruments that you guys like and what you like about it, this just wouldn't be worth it. But for me, it's been worth it, because I like Guitar Hero quite a bit. And that's been really nice. And you have been also having a time with Festival, but it's kind of transcended Festival to some degree.
I've been getting pretty enthusiastic, because we've been talking a lot about music lately. We've been talking a lot about, like, getting into doing music as a group, and music is, again, like I said, I've said this on a couple of shows now. We've had, like, discussions about, like, my relationship to music and how, like, I have never really, like, taken the time to get super duper into it. And, like, it's just the one, like, creative outlet that I just have not ever touched finger to. And so I'm really excited to get into it. And I've been trying to, like, find the right fit for me. And we pretty much settled on drums as, like, a tentative, maybe you'll like this kind of thing, you know? And since then, we started playing Fortnite Festival serendipitously, like, around now, of course. And that kind of coincided, and I was like, fuck it. I'll see if I can get good at the drum tracks in this. See if I enjoy doing the drum tracks in this. Because, like, hypothetically, as somebody who knows nothing about music, this should be like baby's first experience in terms of like skill level and shit, and it will give me enough of a feel of what drumming might be like that I'll be able to make a more educated guess at whether or not I will actually enjoy drumming. And so I've been verifying things with Jed as I go of just like, hey, I'm enjoying this aspect of festival. How does that translate to like proper drumming? And a lot of what I'm finding out from Jed is that some of it does and some of it doesn't, and a lot of it doesn't, but enough of it does that I know I would genuinely have a good time getting into drumming, even if I never got good at it, or even passable at it.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And so it's like something I definitely want to throw myself at in the future, to the point where like just today, I was like looking at like, okay, well, are there any cheap kits I can pick up? Like cheap like MIDI kits or something so that I can fucking like sit down and play an actual kit for a minute and see if I like it. You know, and try and get a feel for doing that instead ahead of like actually playing music. And because that feels like the next natural step is buy an actual kit, start learning on the side, while I also use it for like Clone Hero and fucking Fortnite Festival in the background as like a sort of weird quasi in between half step toward playing music. Because I don't know, I have to take baby steps with this kind of thing, but like honestly, the baby steps for this don't feel all that baby to me. Like, it seems like the people around me, like you and Basil, who are actually into music, seem kind of surprised with me in my, like,
oh, yeah.
in the state that I'm in, how quickly I'm in it, you know? When it comes to, like, keeping time and shit.
Fortnite Festival is just like, hey, here's a rhythm plotted out via, like, a timeline instead of via, like, this fraction-based system. And that's why I'm like, well, if you understand this and you grasp the concept of I tap my right finger, you know, my right hand's pointer finger once every beat, and then on my left hand I do it twice every beat, then you can start to understand, oh, okay, so this one's 16th notes, so this one's 8th notes. And this one's da ba ba ba, and it'll get much easier. So I do think it's going to transfer quite well into drumming, especially because you've talked about in the past how, oh yeah, Fortnite Festival is easy for me because it's all just patterns. Once I learn the pattern with my fingers the first time, then it's just muscle memory. And that's kind of what drumming is just like patterns and allowing yourself to fill.
Because what I know about drumming is that drum is like the jazz of any instrument, where it's like when you're playing drums, yeah, you kind of have to be on it, but like not really. Like you have to be on time, yes, but like in terms of like playing correctly, you can kind of ad-lib a good bit and get away with it when it comes to drumming. And it usually sounds pretty all right. But from what I've seen, it's like jazz also in that like jazz is all parts. Jazz is like a Lego set in that like I know how to I learned how to do like I learned how to do this like drum fill, and now I know how to do this as well. So like I can combine the two and get a rudimentary beat out of it, and then I can just keep combining pieces as I learn them, and they'll just incorporate back to back to back on each other. That's the hope. That's what I'm hoping, because that is my assertion, like that is my assertion based on the limited experience like actually paying attention to drums that I have. And like hearing drummers talk about it in passing in the past of like, yeah, no, it seems to me like it's just segments that stitch together and being able to flow those segments really well and knowing what to do and when. And so like, you know, it's once you have it, it seems, you know, and like there's still skill to be gained. There's more of it to have, but like once you got it to a rudimentary degree, it's fine, you know? Like you're playing at a like once you're playing at like an okay mediocre level, you're playing well enough to play like most shit. So like there you go, and be able to like put some of your own shit together to some degree, and that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, because rudimentary drumming is just like baseline knowledge of drumming.
It segments itself really well into a nice, like, stair-step learning curve, where it's like, yeah, right now I'm at, like, the earliest phase possible of it, but I can see the other phases now. I know what the roadmap looks like to being, like, decent at drumming. And it makes way more sense than, like, other times when I've considered things like bass, where it's like, dude, strings? Plucking a string and having it make a sound in time, or, like, any sort of that shit, strumming, plucking, any of it. That shit makes no sense to me whatsoever. That is beyond me. I can't do that specifically. I've tried, and that has been my bar for I just can't do music. Genuinely. Because that, like, that's been my start point is strings, and strings just don't make sense to my brain, apparently. As much as, like, drumming does. Which is nice.
Which is good.
I'm glad I found something about it that I can enjoy. Yeah.
It's like come out of just Fortnite now, where you're just like tapping everywhere, which is like typically
now I'm
step
catching
one.
myself idly tapping desks and shit. That's what got me looking at drum kits today. Was I was just tapping and going, man, it'd be great to be able to do this. Like get the satisfaction of drumming without having to play fucking Fortnite Festival to do it, you know. And so I'd like to like get into actually drumming as a pastime because I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it'll go anywhere beyond
that.
Because, like,
with a stick, instead of you having to tap every time, sticks have that rebound. So a good amount of the work is going in for you for that, like, coming back to hit the next tap.
Because that's another thing that I think won't translate well, but, like, will, kind of. Like, because the way it is on Fortnite Festival, specifically, because they have to make it work for, like, keyboard, is, for those uninformed, is D, F, J, and K in that order across the board of your things, and D and F are played with your left hand. You rest your fingers home row on your keyboard. So, like, where your fingers lie are what fingers are playing those, pretty much. Unless you want to go out of your way to change your play style and, like, do some weird, funky shit with it. But generally, you're going to be doing that. And so, like, I'm already getting pretty good at, like boom, boom, bop, ba, boom, ba, boom, bop. Okay, I've got that with that hand. Let me see what the left hand is supposed to be up to now, and get that going. And then my right hand will just keep doing the other thing. Pretty much idly. Like, I can, like, spare the... Like, I'm able to, like, segment my attention enough to be able to do that now between hands. And... like, the part that really, really fucks me up about it, like, the only reason I'm not almost perfect at Fortnite Festival when it comes to drumming is the fact that I have to split not only between hands, but between fingers, and that's just another, like, that's one layer too far for me to get instantly. Like, I could do it, and I am getting better at that every day, but that is the big tripper for me, and my assumption is that sticks in hand, that's not gonna be an issue, because you're fucking... you have your fingers on a fucking stick that is playing it. So really it's all diverting wrist movement and general hand movement. Like large hand movement and not micro movements like I'm doing now. You know? And so I'm hoping that'll be the case. I don't know how true that is. What would you say?
It should be, in theory, what you're getting. Because that's about how I was feeling about it with my, and that's why I had to move to, like, getting a Guitar Hero controller, was because, like, yeah, my fingers can do it. I can play it, but this is not the rhythm that, like, this doesn't work for me because I'm so used to guitar that is, like, my left hand is doing all the precise work and my right hand is doing all the rhythmic work.
Right.
So it is fairly usual for you to have a preference for, like, I don't like to use specifically my fingers unless you're, like, a keyboard player, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm not good at fingering, unfortunately.
Yeah, rest in peace to Vox's fingering abilities, I guess.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Bad day, ladies. My fingering ain't what it used to be. Ain't what it should be.
Ain't what it should be, dude. Do you think anybody's practiced with fucking Fortnite Festival for, like, pleasing their partner?
I'm dead certain it helps. Yeah, like, we had a bit the other day. Where, as a joke, I was learning, like, triplets, which are very fucking like that real quick. And so, like, and the thing about it was, like, you were teaching me how to do a triplet, and I had already gotten it, like, while you were still teaching it to me, and I needed, like, a funny way to say I've already got it, and I just went, oh, I've done this motion before. Basil would recognize it. and that was like the hee hoo ha ha, you know? But like in all seriousness, I'm dead certain that if you play enough of this, you will, because it makes you better with your fingers, genuinely. It's just like a hand-eye coordination thing and like a fast twitch muscle fiber thing. And so long as you're like working those parts, they're gonna get better generally. So I'm sure there's like one guy out there who is like, holy fuck, I gotta get back to Fortnite Festival. My fingering is... I'm not what I used to be at this. Let me go play some, like... let me do some finger workouts or something. Because they make those little resistance bands for like your fingers and shit.
Yeah.
To make those muscles stronger and like quicker and shit. And so like that's not an unheard of thing.
Yeah, it's so goddamn funny though.
It is funny.
But with
it's
like
funny to imagine.
drumming, I think you are gonna have a much easier time with that, although you might struggle with the feet. Getting feet involved is something that I had a very difficult time with.
Nah,
but,
I can do all 4 limbs at once.
Yeah? Yeah?
I think so. I'm confident in my ability to do that, at least.
Tap your head and rub your tummy and bounce your right leg and then swing around your left one. You could do all that.
Dude, I'm bouncing my left leg right now to a fucking bump, 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 like at that pace. Like at exactly that pace, dude.
Yeah.
Like I can manage this just fine. I'm not doing it manually, mind you. That would require more concerted effort. I get what you're saying. What's weird is I can't like rub my stomach and tap the top of my head at the same time, but that's like the one hand coordination thing I can't do, which sucks because anytime I like reference being good at any like multitasking thing, they're like, "Oh, can you fucking tap your head and rub your stomach?" And it's like, "No, I can't do your stupid fucking circus trick, but I can do 2 different things with my hands at once."
Yeah.
Which one of us is really winning here? I'm sure I will, yeah.
It's a scientifically proven. Yeah, is that like people who play instruments have like an easier time with hand-eye coordination when it's separated bilaterally, because even like guitars and shit is separated into it.
Speaking of scientifically proven, I'm gonna like hard push us to a different topic real quick. Scientists have AI bros are freaking the fuck out because scientific studies are now like ChatGPT has been around just long enough for this. That scientific studies are now coming out showing that people who regularly use ChatGPT are not, in fact, more efficient. They are, in fact, dumber. They are, like, physically, they are measurably, at least, stupider for having done it for an extended period. And that makes perfect sense to me. I didn't need a scientific, like, paper to tell me that. But some people did. And so, like, it's fun to see that news drop. And see people running around like chickens with their head off now that, like, Oxford is saying it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know what school did the study. It might have been fucking MIT for all I know. Who knows? Anyway.
I was watching, I think it was another Technology Connections video where he was talking about how search engines are like, they aren't search engines anymore, dude. They're like AI engines for some reason. But I agree with him. And his main point is just that like AI, specifically like generative AI used for what you could just Google, is the death of intellectualism, because you're either just taking that risk of it being wrong and being fine with being wrong about something, or having to go fact check it anyway, which at that point, why the fuck are you using the AI at all?
Yeah, I use the Google AI now. Not often, but when
Rarely.
I am at the end of my rope with like a minor troubleshooting thing, I'll just see what it says and try that. As like as long as it's not delete system 32 or some shit, you know, I'll usually like, okay, this is pulling from like because like they pull from like Reddit and shit, which is the only place that's useful on the goddamn internet for finding out anything anymore for some reason, even though it sucks. But like it's the only place that hasn't been completely and shitified. But like it's like, oh yeah, here's a list of steps, go do it. You know, and it's like, and I've had it work more than once because it's pulling from one singular source that's just on page 10, you know, that happens to be the one that answers my question. But, like, generally, I wouldn't have needed that if the result that answered my question was on page 1 through 3 instead somewhere. Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be the top result for any specific question I'm asking. I usually look for a page or two, but once you hit page 3, you're too far in. You're not finding anything. It just becomes a bunch of, garbage that is completely irrelevant with one, like, needle in a haystack result in between, you know?
Yeah, pretty much exactly. And, like, I have used the Google AI before, but the issue is that
I don't make a habit
it's because
of it,
I got so used to using AI's old, like, this is, like, a summary.
Google's old, like blurb
the
system. Yeah, they put it where that goes, and it's a pain in the neck now. Did you know that, like, the drop-down questions, I was unintentionally using their AI, because on search results, they have, like, drop-down suggested suggested searches that are like, oh man, how many of these vitamins do I take? And then you look at those and it's like, what sort of vitamins should I be taking for this? How many vitamins is too many?
Yeah.
How many vitamins is too few? And those sorts of questions have AI answers now. And they don't really say that, except for at the bottom of the result in small gray text. Like, they used to be real, actual results from pages, but now they're not. Now they're, like, AI. Which sucks
Which
ass,
is such
dude.
horseshit. Because, like, AI's old system worked well. It would just take, like, here's the most, like, reputable
Google's
source
system,
that
I
is
should
the
say.
highest one. There you go. Google's old system, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, they got rid of it in favor of the thing that tells you should put fucking toothpaste on your, like, butthole, dude.
Google
This
genuinely
shit's fucked.
worked infinitely better 10 years ago. And I got to slowly, as I became an adult, I got to, like, watch, like, Google become a less and less usable place. And it's insane.
And more more people use it.
I think it speaks very well to, like, how good Google used to be, that, like, it being in a, quote, unusable state comparatively means that you could still find an answer 8 times out of 10, but, like, pretty immediately.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, it's definitely, like, on that downhill slope and fast, and I worry. I worry for the state of information accessibility if Google ever falls off the face of the earth and we have to go use Bing, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, most of the other search engines aren't
seriously.
much better, and I don't know, like, that will decentralize everything, basically. If, like, Google goes away, or, like, changes in such a way that people don't want to use Google anymore, people are gonna, which I doubt will ever happen. Like, the only way Google goes away is if Google goes away, you know? But then some people are gonna go to Bing, some people are gonna go to fucking Truth Social, some people are gonna go here and there, you know, DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a nightmare.
Time.
It's gonna be a nightmare because, like, 3 people can Google the same question in the same room and get wildly different answers, and it's like, well, this isn't fucking helpful, you know?
Yeah, this is very unhelpful, actually. But, oh man, I genuinely fucking hate the direction that Google has decided to go with their web browser because, like, that technology connections video is right, dude. Why the fuck can't we just look up something and then get the result for the thing that we look up? Why does it all have to be algorithm based?
I know,
You know?
I'm with you. Yeah. No, but, like, it's just been a whole thing. It's just been a whole goddamn thing.
Yeah.
With AI recently.
Oh, wow.
But, like, I don't want to talk a ton about AI. But I just thought it was relevant to bring up in there because that study came out. And,
yeah.
that's just in the news lately, and I thought it was a funny little bit.
Yeah, it definitely is funny, especially being able to see the people who've been like, well, I'm better than you and smarter than you because I use an AI. And it's like, you're certifiably not smarter than me because I at least exercise my brain.
Ooh, speaking of people who are better than me, or think they're better than me and smarter than me, even though they're, like, totally not. And not just me, everybody, in fact. Have you heard this thing Logan Paul said?
Ooh, no.
This is, like, wrestling news, but don't worry. If you don't like wrestling, this is widely applicable because he's fucking infested everything. Logan Paul last week or the week before said something along the lines of nobody shows up to WWE for any of the actual wrestlers. They show up for me. And how, like, he's the best, and how, like, even if people hate him, he still gets the satisfaction of being, like, having the attention. And genuinely, that changed how I saw Logan Paul, in that, like, I don't even get angry when I see Logan Paul anymore. I can't, like, not angry, but I don't get annoyed at the sight of Logan Paul anymore. I just don't, I'm indifferent to him now. I've trained myself to be just like, okay, well, if I'm mad, that's what he wants, so I'm not mad, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I just do my best to,
like,
I just do my best to steer
restrain.
clear of his path in every way and avoid anything that would ever give him money, you know?
Yeah.
With the exception of, like, shit that I was already doing. But even then, you can't completely avoid him. Like, any new shit, anyway. Stuff that I'm not already doing. The reason why is, like, because that seems like, oh, that's like a half-ass, like, boycott Logan Paul. And it's like, yeah, because I'm not boycotting Logan Paul. Because that's what he wants, man.
Yeah.
That's what he's after. He wants people to hate him. He wants to be the guy that people, like, fuck, it's fucking Logan Paul, you know? I'm not tuning into another boxing event in the hopes that Logan Paul gets his ass beat, you know? Like my dislike of Logan Paul will not fuel any of my decision making going forward, whether that means getting into a thing or not getting into a thing. You know? Like, if Logan Paul's there and I want to get into it, I'm going to get into it regardless. I just, like, that is the only way to handle this guy specifically, based on that statement, is just be indifferent to him. You know?
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm going with it.
Just let him, like, fizzle out.
Just let him exist in the same space without giving him any, like, additional, like, notice beyond, like, Logan Paul, alright. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And of course, this is a small show that he won't see, so I don't mind saying it.
No,
but Logan Paul is one of the
absolutely.
few people that I've ever seen, and my initial gut reaction when I saw him, at least as an adult more recently, since he's like not Logan Paul, the YouTuber that my friend used to watch in middle school, and now he's Logan Paul, the douchebag that shows up everywhere. My initial reaction to seeing him is, I want to punch that guy in the teeth.
Oh, man, I also want to punch that guy in the teeth. And it's like, I don't even feel bad for saying that, right? I feel bad when I say that about some people, because some people just have unfortunately annoying looking faces because I'm like a dickhead. But like Logan Paul's punch ability would go away if he carried himself differently. Like, it's literally all in the decisions he's made about his like personal life and grooming and like movement. Like, the way he moves, the way he styles his hair, the way he styles his beard, the faces he makes all the goddamn time, the stupid shit that he says. Those are the reasons that I think Logan Paul is just, he looks peak punchable, you know? Where it's like, you know, even if he just, like, walked around with some modicum of respect for anything, you know, I would think that, like, okay, maybe that guy is less punchable for that. But, like, no, he's genuinely just some douchebag.
Seriously, yeah. But nonetheless, Logan Paul is indeed a douchebag, and he is kind of bringing wrestling down with him a little bit to some degree. I genuinely don't know why Triple H and those people don't just, like, get the fuck out of here. Honestly,
I don't know why Triple H,
if these
like,
are
lets
your
a lot of people
opinions,
stay around, honestly.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder what Triple H's whole deal is. You know, he's not making my favorite decisions for the company, so.
Yeah, no, I've been on the, like, what the fuck is Triple H doing bandwagon for a minute. But, like, no, yeah, it's genuinely wild, things that are going on over at WWE. Like, it's weird. Like, Jey Uso had the championship, now Gunther has the champ. Hey, can we talk about something real quick about championships? Fucking, there's the World Heavyweight Championship, and there's the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship.
Yep.
So, the World Championship covers the entirety of the globe. The Intercontinental Championship covers North America, Europe, and Asia. Those are 3 of the 4 continents that have any wrestling at all.
Yeah.
Why in the hell are these 2 separate belts? I know why. Apparently they had some, like, I had this, like, secondhand relayed to me because my husband Googled it, and it seemed like he was kind of fuzzy on details when he said it to me. But apparently they had some sort of big match that people thought was horse shit, and so to rectify that, they were like, oh no, he's not world champion. One of these guys can be Intercontinental champion, and the other one can be that, because, like, some sort of merger happened or something. I have no clue on specifics. But it was apparently just a decision to split the World Heavyweight Champion so 2 people could have it, practically. And it's fucking dumb. It's so fucking dumb.
Yeah, that is really fucking silly. What the fuck is the point of having a title in general if we're gonna just do that? I thought they were different because of, like... I guess I thought it was because of who participated in them, but... No, I don't know. There really isn't a difference. Yeah. WWE has been fun, though. WWE has been going kind of on, like, a weird slope lately. We got into it on, like, what we thought was, like, a peak, and now it's just been going down, and, like, apparently we joined at a bad time, but we're still having a good time.
I'm still having fun. Yeah, I'm still having a lot of fun with wrestling. I don't want to, like, discourage anybody with this conversation of, like, oh, Vox isn't into WWE anymore. And it's like, no, that's the opposite of the case. In fact, I'm more into it now than I ever have been. And that's why I have, like, criticisms of the show to bring, you know? Whereas before it was just like, I'm having a lot of fun and I like the characters, you know, and now it's like, well, I've got some behind the scenes knowledge enough to have an opinion, you know. And so now that we've like settled in, where like I get what you mean, where we're on a weird slope with it too, where it's like we're just kind of WWE guys now in the background. Like it's not the focus. Like us being WWE guys now isn't new anymore, so it's not like a focal point for us, and it's not like it's a hyperfixation right now for us. It's just like a thing that we're into, you know? That it's still like you still like tune into this little thing that we like to watch every Monday, and it's still a crowd of like as many people screaming and like major cities and major venues. So it's like it's weird to be just casually into it, you know, and keeping up with it week to week as a fan when like the events themselves are anything fucking but casual, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing about WWE is that they're so non-casual about it. That's how we got into it, was watching the people who are not casual about it. And then like honestly, I would say that Basil is at the point where they aren't as casual about watching WWE. I think they're like a genuine fan of it now, because like it seems to be just their media of choice right now is just like, yeah, I like to look at WWE. And that's fine.
Yeah. They've got
good.
a lot of WWE on their feeds. I hear a lot about it from them. But
yeah,
fucking this and that about WWE all the time from him. Like he is hooked on that shit, it is safe to say. Like we have it and we like it, but Basil loves it. And so it's like it really has kept us up on it. And having somebody who is like really, really, really into it around also affects that like weirdness state we're in, where it's like, yeah, I really like it, but like, you know, once it's over, and I get on with my day usually. And then like I keep up with the news as it comes out throughout the week. Like if somebody gets like I watch the clips from SmackDown in the morning, even though I don't watch SmackDown on Fridays because fucking you try sitting through SmackDown without falling asleep. I fucking dare you. But like, not that the content's bad, it's just 3 goddamn hours. I mean, it's 2 goddamn hours now. Can you say goddamn on YouTube without any repercussion? Who cares?
Yeah, you can say goddamn. You can say fuck. We've said the fuck word before.
Oh, right, no, it's like a first 5 minutes rule, ain't it? Or something like that. So we're clear. But the algorithm's not checking minute 31 of this podcast. It's fine. But like, what was I saying? Oh, right, we should be more into it, is my thought. Not that we should be for our sake, but it's just like, man, all these people in this crowd who paid hundreds of dollars to be here are screaming at the top of their lungs for the thing we just kind of like a bit. You know? It's sort of weird, because it's like, shouldn't my enjoyment of it be as explosive because that's how people enjoy this? You know? And it's like, well, maybe my enjoyment of it is a little bit more subdued, and that's fine. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it a lot. Actually, with a lot of media, I've found that I don't like... Well, actually, I've found that I probably have pretty severe brain damage, because nothing ever makes me feel, like, elated. I'm not able to get... What? What? What the fuck are you laughing at, brother?
You know exactly what I'm laughing at, you dickhead. You just went, yeah, I kind of enjoy things different, too. Like, a lot of what I do is different. Honestly, I think I might have severe brain damage. It's
right. Well, it's like, I've been doing more research, and the hippocampus could get seriously, like, underworked if you have depression for a long time, and especially because all my depression was so during developmental times. I think I am just dull. I think I just have, like, a dull everything. When I touch things, they don't feel as sensory, as much sensory input as I feel like they should. I've noticed. Things are quieter for me. Things are, like, less intense overall emotionally. So I kind of had this moment where I was like, everything I do is kind of just like, yeah, I really like this. I don't have anything that I'm like, holy shit, this is my thing. I just have a good time with it.
That just tickled me so bad, because it seemed like you had the thought mid-sentence and just let your mouth roll with it, where you were like, yeah, I don't really like, I'm kind of like subdued in my enjoyment of things too, you know? I mean, maybe I have brain damage. And it's like, that's a thing to realize about yourself 33 minutes and 55 seconds into the Vox and Jed Fight About It podcast, episode 53. That sure is a thing.
Yeah.
That's something to be discussing while you're a robot and I'm a possum on YouTube and Spotify for like people to listen to. It is very funny. It's a pretty funny topic. Anyway, you got any other funny topics while we're at it that we could laugh at?
Other funny topics.
But yeah, now that I'm done laughing at like your lack of ability to enjoy things to the same degree as everyone else, and your practical disability in that regard, let's move on to something else that's funny.
Oh man, did we talk about Guilty as Suck? We looped
I don't think we
back on
did,
Guilty as Suck
dude.
recently.
Did we talk about Guilty as Suck the first time? Even I'm
Yeah,
not
go
sure we
ahead.
did. We played it once. We had like an all right time with it, and went, I don't think this is for us. And then everybody refunded it, and I didn't for a day or two. So I just saw it sitting in my Steam library, and I was like, we should come back to that. I think we can have fun with that. I just don't think we did. You know. And so we all sat down in a group, and we really, really leaned into it, and I think we had a good time. I was pretty heavy on my bit. I was doing a bit the whole time as witness, and then like you guys were all doing your like prosecution and defense and judge and stenographer shit, and it was all lining up pretty well. It like we had like running gags. It was very Muppety almost. Like I think we finally got to enjoy that game as it is intended. You know, I think that was like the intended enjoyment of that game. And I gotta say, as much fun as I had, it didn't seem like anybody else had quite as much fun as I did, because improv stuff like that is always fun to me. It's just hard to get into. But like, I didn't even have like a fucking like blow your socks off pun intended time with it. I sort of just like went in and had a good time, and it's like, yeah, Guilty as Suck is, I'm comfortable with the fact that that's in my Steam library. Given when the mood strikes, I'll play it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
There will be something
That's
worth booting that for. There will come a day, like maybe it'll be in a week, maybe it'll be in years, but there will come a day where it's like, guys, let's go back to fucking Guilty as Suck. Let's do that again.
Yeah.
Or like, hell, we might have come into some real, like, silly argument that's outside of the game, and I'm waiting for the day that I can just, you know what, fuck it, boot Guilty as Suck right now.
Yeah. Oh man, that will be actually a really fun time.
Like, it's not a great game to
something.
play in long sessions, necessarily, like we like to play party games like that. But, like, it's definitely, like, in passing as, like, a one trial every couple of weeks thing. I could definitely have fun with it. I could definitely have fun with it in sparing amounts. Anyway, you were saying? Yeah. What are your thoughts about Guilty as Suck?
Well, but, like, I also had a good time with it because I've done improv before. But then that led me on like a mental brain track away from Guilty as Suck to just like how I learned to improv, because we talked about that last night. Because we looped back around on HLVRAI, and I realized
we were talking about HLVRAI.
I'm such like a problematic mess to RP with sometimes, is because that's where I learned to improv. Pretty much every bit they do in that is just round about the same as what I would do. If I'm given an opportunity where it's like I can do a funny bit, I have a hard time passing it up in lore.
Doing a funny bit is great and all, until I walk up and realize that Jed has just canonized that my character is like 60% cyborg, and like also, by the way, Jed is responsible for the creation of the universe, me, and everything in it, you know? And he's also the only reason I have a job, and the only reason I exist to begin with, and the only reason I'm wearing the clothes that I wear, and the only reason I have an office, and the only reason I get to be involved in the plot. And I just got really fucking sick and tired of, like, look, man, if you want the spotlight, you can fucking have it. But, like, you need to discuss this with me first. Because, like, and then it's like, anytime that I would try to do something like that back in any way, even if it wasn't, like, I never did it maliciously as just, like, let me put some shit on to Jed. But, like, anytime I would try to, like, throw some shit your way, instead of a yes and, I would get a fucking no? What the hell are you talking about? No. You know, and it's like, okay, well, all right. That's that out the window, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, and it works really well. It works really well in, like, a this means nothing after we get off the game tonight improv fuck around. But when we're doing an 8 or 9 month overarching story, it starts to add up when you fucking, like, nah, I did it. Or, like, no, that's not true. Just at random about some shit, like, for no reason. But anyway, you were saying.
But, like,
I don't mean to, like, throw the fucking book at you right now.
It's just funny to, like, for me to see where that came from, of that, like, oh, that's where I got that RP style, which is mainly just, like, semi-combative, but also, like, why the fuck would you go and do something like that? It's funny. And I need to, like, work my way out of that, or at least get that for, like, some characters and not others, because I found that in my D&D group, I have a hard time playing serious characters. They always have fucking serious backstories and shit, and then they're the most like shithead fucking like dickheads in the party, and I need to figure out how to get myself some tone control is what I need.
Yeah, you need
Like,
to learn how
I
to
just struggle with
actually
it.
act
Yeah.
on any level.
Oh.
Because, like, the stuff that we've picked up naturally through, like, the stuff that we picked up naturally, I've made an effort to, like, try and get good at serious acting. I also have that problem, Jed, of, like, during improv stuff that's not scripted, I will tend to fall into bits just because, like, that's my natural state, is, like, I'll squeeze a joke in where I can. And so putting that, like,
Yeah.
subroutine aside for a minute is kind of hard. Especially when I'm entertaining somebody actively right now, you know, even if I'm doing it via
Yeah.
serious dramatic performance. It's hard to, like, kick that habit. But yeah, no, we both definitely need to work a good bit on our, like, dramatic ability and our ability to handle that kind of thing. Because I think comedy leads itself very well to drama. Breaking Bad is full of comedians, and that's one of the best dramas on television, you know? Or best dramas that has ever been on television, I should say. But, like...
Yeah.
And so I think there is potential in our transference of comedic ability to dramatic, but, like, we just need to get a handle on how to make that material in an improv session, you know? That's the real kicker.
Yeah. But it makes things like Guilty as Sock so goddamn fun.
It does.
Like, you and I are, like, the ideal for games like that, where it's literally just improvised, but in a way that is really only, like, made to make your friends laugh. Because it's not bad. That's not hard to do. But yeah. I did have a good time with it on the second time around. I didn't feel like I needed to know how to be a lawyer or anything. Mainly because I had, like, I don't remember who took it up as just, like, I think one of our friends, Doc, had just, like, yeah, I'm gonna be the judge this time, and then they just fully leaned into it for the first one, and that allowed us to get the ball moving. You know, like, we had a baseline for, like, okay, so this is how this is going to look for all the other ones.
Okay, so I don't even think it was Doc taking it up. I think it's the fact that, like, the group of us individual. The first time we had a bad time because two whole people were judge, and when you're judge, you see how the entire game works. You get literally, like, that is the only angle at which you see how this game works mechanically. And so the first person up was Doc, who is probably the worst of us at explaining things and the least vocal about what's in front of them at any given moment. And so, like, they were just, like, a bad person to have up first. And then I think you were up second, and so you were actively trying to decipher it the whole round and couldn't quite get it in the moment. Like, not that it's particularly difficult, but we couldn't quite get what the point of any of it was via then. And then we came back to it a second time. We came back to it a second time, and then Basil got to be judge, and then I got to be judge, and then Wivey got to be judge, our other friend, at some point during that process. And like, once we had all been judge, it somehow clicked for all of us that, like, yeah, no, they lead, and then we follow, and then we, like, guide, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we're all kind of steering this thing,
easier.
but the judge is the one at the wheel, you know? And it became a lot easier to navigate the game once we realized how that operated.
Yeah, this is just one of the first games that didn't have, like, guide rails on it for us. Because, like, a lot of the games we play
one of the first
are
of these
just,
types of RP games that we've really touched at all. Yeah.
Yeah, like the style of video game that is pretty much just like a sandbox of, hey, here's your character, here's what it can do. Now fucking act it out and have a good time. Like, do whatever you want now. And I think the only other time that we've had that is for a Jackbox game called Word Spud. That was the only time that we ever did it, because there's no actual rules for that game. We made up 2 different rule sets for that game.
We have 2 game modes for a game that has 0.
Yeah, like, it just said, like, yeah, you type what you think should come after this word. And so we were like, okay, is it word association or is it stories? So I, for the first round, spent the whole time, like, writing out, like, and then the farmer did, and then somebody would type in, oh, did, does.
No.
Fuck!
That is not how the first round of that went. You didn't type, and so the farmer, you typed, and then hit enter, and I went, stand. And then hit enter, and then the next person went, band, and then hit enter. Like, we did it like that because you did one word, so and, like, didn't say a word about it. And so, like, we were all equally confused as to, like, this thing has very, like, you read the instructions off and we were like, yeah, but do they mean what word comes after this one, as in, like, what's the first word that comes to mind? Or what should come after this, as in, like, what's the rest of the sentence? I'm almost certain they meant what's the rest of the sentence. Like, I'm dead sure that's like, the
just
way
how the
you're,
game
like,
works the
probably
best.
supposed to play it. And it works the best that way. I don't think word association was ever a part of it. Simply because, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, you could gamify word association in a lot of ways that are way more clear than that, and you can't really gamify putting a sentence together improv style with friends in any other way but that. And so that's what really leads me to go,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's sentences, I think. But we also play at word association because the points are based on if people like the thing you put in or not. Like, if the rest of the
Yeah,
players
you just
thumbs
vote
up the
yes or
thing
no.
you're, like, say yes to what you want in, and it's just whoever has the most shit in. And so you can play it any kind of way you want as long as the group agrees on a method of play. And so, like,
Yeah.
we've sort of started, like, doing it that way, writing stories, doing sentences, all sorts. Like, we've managed to, like, get a lot more out of this Jackbox game than I think we were intended to, mechanics-wise.
Yeah, which is funny because it's actually become like one of the ones that we do actually enjoy enough to actually bring up. Um and it's from the first fucking pack too.
I just forget that it exists every time we do Jackbox, and so I never think to suggest it. And I know that, like, it's such a,
Yeah.
like, a mood depender that, like, you gotta be careful. But it's funny every time. It's funny every fucking time. You know?
Yeah, because you always end up with some like fuck ass story, and it's such a good time. It is such a good time when you're writing a story about how like this character that we've made all together has a mom who can throw a fish across a football field better than your mom can, and it's like, how the fuck did we
Yeah.
get here? And that's a real
Fucking
one.
fish
That's
toss, dude.
yeah. Uh, but
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's been part of the like party games we've been playing. Trying to think about the other, like, we've been picking up older games that we haven't played in a while. And they just haven't been working for us either. Um as of that. But
Yeah, no.
nonetheless.
We've been doing a lot of Fortnite though. Fortnite's pretty much where we've settled as, like, a friend group game that we all play together because there's just so much shit to do in that game. We didn't get to that angle of it. We talked about Festival and then moved on. We didn't even talk about the rest of Fortnite. Holy shit. Because Festival mode
Yeah.
on its own has already been such, like, that's been our mode to play mostly. Like,
Oh yeah.
we do a good amount of zero build, and we've, like, started incorporating some of the, like, Lego Odyssey stuff in. And when that's happened, it's been great. It's been awesome. We've been making good progress in all of that. I think I may have, like,
Mm-hmm.
gotten Wivey to actually maybe get into Minecraft with us and enjoy it from the perspective of pick up another survival
Yeah.
game that's kind of similar to Ark Survival Evolved and also kind of similar to Minecraft, and then bridge that gap
Yeah.
for them. Apparently
They're seeming
Grounded.
to have a good time with it.
Apparently Grounded,
Mhm.
that particular survival game is a lot like Lego Fortnite in its progression. So if we wanted to get into another complete game that's just that, I would recommend we could do that as, like, a brand new thing at some point.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a game that's, like, been
always
on my
wanted to try
radar for a
Grounded.
good bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks fun. It looks good. But
I followed it when it first came out.
yeah, it was just like, it was in early access for so long, and then when it finally did come out on PC, it was like 40, $50, and I just didn't have the money at the moment. And,
Yeah.
like, it's just been 30 ever since, and it's been a game I've just been, like, slightly unsure on. And because I've been so unsure on it, I just haven't bothered to pick it up yet. And it's such, like, it's one of those games that's clearly designed around having a squad together to do it. And so, like, I wouldn't want to tackle it
Yeah.
alone, really.
Yeah. It's kind of similar
But
to
yeah.
Raft, though, from what I can tell, art style wise, at least, because it's got that same like survival game kind of cartoonish thing that got picked up for a while. It's weird how like certain genres can become
Yeah. It's weird
yeah.
how certain genres can become a whole thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to that of like wow, there's so much in, like, the survival games genre now. There's a lot there, you know?
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm
I think
shocked at
my
the level of
favorite
variety people get out of that. out of survival
My
crafting
favorite,
games. Your
yeah,
favorite?
my favorite of them will always be Minecraft to some degree. But like Raft does really have my heart because I got into that game and I became so fucking addicted to it of just the ability to just drift on the sea, collect resources naturally while you drift across. It's so fucking relaxing and a good time. Every time I want to play another game, I always somehow end up back at Raft because it's like this has just become my survival game because I like the little building mechanics and I like floating around on the
Dude,
ocean.
I'll go back to
Um,
fishing tomorrow if that's what you want to do. We'll get the group together. We'll have a big fucking raft this time of like 4 people, and we'll fucking maybe even 5, and we'll fucking get in there, and I'll make us all some goddamn fish.
yeah, yeah, we'll have a good fish moment. I think that's
Getting
what
back
will
to the
happen.
fish, yeah. I think it's gonna be a lot of
Mhm.
that. I think Raft will be a lot of fun as like a not stream game someday because I really liked it as a stream game. It was fun as a stream game, but when I play games on stream, I try to make like I sit down with the intention of making a significant amount of game progress on top of having fun, you know.
Yeah,
And so like sitting down and going, yeah, I have no intention of doing the next piece of the story tonight. In fact, fuck the story. Let's just go. You know, fuck the story for
let's
right
just
now.
hang
We're just
out.
playing the game and hanging out. Yeah. And just doing the like
Mhm.
resource gathering and building aspect and fishing and shit in the background for a couple hours, and that'll just be our raft for today. You know? I had just as much
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
more fun with those elements than I did with anything the plot tried to give me at any point.
Because that's the issue is that like the plot, the only really reason that I do the plot is just to get the more items to continue just floating along and like making a more efficient way to float along and gather resources. Um, I think I just became like
Yeah.
addicted to the like nets because it's so just passive. But yeah,
The nets are really good. I like the nets as an aspect of that game. Just having idle resource gathering be like part of the movement up, where it's like automation in Minecraft makes up for it by being automation in Minecraft in that like, dude, you could farm fucking
you can get
anything
absurd
any
amounts.
way you
Yeah,
want. You know, and not only that, it can be insanely efficient to do that. So if that's like a tree you want to go down with Minecraft, you can go straight down it and never come back out. Jed did it. He's still not out of there.
yeah,
And so like I
man.
don't I don't even think you've done everything there is to do on the automation side of
I
Minecraft. So I
haven't.
kind of give it a pass for not including it in its progression necessarily, in its like core progression anyway. But that when I branch out to other games like that where it's like, dude, automation is just part of it where it's like, yeah, I'm going to spend the first 30 minutes of the game throwing a hook in the water and hoping that I get something, you know, and then that part of the game at hour 5 is just automated, and then you
Yeah,
move
it's
on to
just
like
done.
like it's like cool, now I have one less thing in my workflow, and then they let you sit in that for a minute on Raft. Like they give you like a little while to sit in the fact that like, cool, you have access to this resource, you went out, you did the thing, you got what you needed for it, now you can make it, here you go, now you don't have to do that by hand anymore. And then once you have it for an
Yeah,
automation thing, or once you have whatever improvement, you go, oh man, that's a big time save for me. Now I have more time to dedicate to other things like decorating or other projects or other parts of the like raft that need help. You know, like other parts of it that need a little bit of work. And then you get off on that. And like you sit there for a few minutes and do all that stuff, and it gives you a nice little break until, oh wow, I've kind of hit a bottleneck here, I need a new thing. And then that's part of your
yeah,
workflow, is going and doing the stuff to get that new thing. It's a game that lets you sustain pretty well, I guess is the point. In that like
yeah.
in any other survival game pretty much, if you just like stop stock still and just kind of hang out in your house, you're not making any game progress whatsoever. But there is sort of like
Yeah.
an idle game aspect to Raft, at least to the point where the idle game works up to like being able to maintain your current level of living, you know? And
Yeah.
so when you
And
want
then
improvement,
it's
you have to seek it. It's not like I have to be constantly chasing the next thing with Raft, and that's what I like about it in particular. Even though we did do
and then it
that.
becomes late game when you have enough resources build up that your nets are just full anyway. And it's
And
like,
like
oh
it's
shit,
more of
I'm
a
out of
chore to
wood.
have them emptied than it is to actually
Yeah.
like get shit out of them. Like you're getting shit out of it because you need the fucking like shit out of your net, not because you need the shit. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's something that I like about Raft that isn't in the other survival games, that I think is the one thing that hooks me on it the most, is that like you could just sit for a while and you'll make some pretty good progress, at least for like the survival part of it. And I like that.
I like that a lot. Yeah, no,
I think
but
it's still my favorite. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of your favorite of a genre of thing, something that you and I both consider probably the best movie of the year so far, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now that I'm recency biased away from talking about it, like from wanting to talk about it too positively. Like I'm far enough out from having seen it that I can like objectively look at it and go, yeah, that was good. Sinners, film with Michael B. Jordan as the star. It's a vampire flick. It's pretty good. I don't want to talk too much about it because, most importantly, Jed is the one who was our test dummy for this. I knew about Sinners before Jed did, but Jed like was the first one to actually go and see it and take the initiative and go, you know what, this looks really good. I'm gonna go to the theater and sit down and watch this. And he did, and he reported back that like, hey, despite the lack of marketing, this movie is insanely good, and you have to see it. And then it came out on digital, and we sat and watched it, and it was phenomenal. But you want to talk about like fucking the movie that's like had your heart for a few minutes, and I'll just like fucking sit here?
Sure, yeah. Sure, because
go forth.
Oh man,
let the audience know, man.
We actually talked about Sinners for the first time on the show, where you had brought up that there was this good movie that people were talking about, and then I had brought up that, oh yeah, I've seen some TikToks about it. And I looked into it more, and I was like, oh, this is something that my mom would really get. Like, because she just absolutely loves fucking vampires. Everything vampires. Diary of a Vampire, fucking Buffy, all of that. She loves all of it. And I was like, okay, so let's go see this in the theaters. Maybe she'll like it. And when we went to go see it, I was fucking floored. Sinners is an incredible movie for several reasons. It's got really good messaging throughout it that has to do with a lot like deeper than just surface level on it, about like Christianity and religion and how it creates a pocket of safety and things like that. And also that like, you know, this sinful nature that we have is natural and something that we can't explore without giving in fully to the demons. And it's such a go-to film. And let alone on the second watch through that I watched with Vox, when I finally sat them all down and finally turned it on for the first time since seeing it in the theater, I really was able to pick up on it as just like, yeah, this is just a vampire movie. Because I had already found all the like religious subtext and everything, and I already analyzed it. So I was able to just like, oh yeah, this is just a fun vampire movie too. And it has genuinely just been probably the best the best movie to come out this year easily. Like we're halfway through the year, and I can fairly confidently say that this is going to be the one movie. Just because the cast, the writing, the directing, the singing, everything. If you have any interest in the blues or anything having to do with the forming of the blues, this movie is for you, for sure. Because throughout it, I don't know if you know this, Vox, but for the blues, it was founded on that feeling of like, yeah, the devil will get brought to you if you play it. It was seen as this like sinful type of music. And it's cool that we really did explore that in the movie alongside of also being a really good vampire movie. It was just remarkable. What about you, Vox? Now that you've finally sat down and seen it.
I think I have some thoughts. And my thoughts are pretty much exactly what you've been saying about how, like, yeah, no, this is really fucking good. And I figured I'd let you have your moment there because, like, so rarely do you get a chance to just go off about something you enjoy on the show for a minute. And so actually, I wanted to just, like, sit the fuck back for a minute.
To be honest, is the first movie that I've ever brought to my friends as, hey, this is a movie that I saw on my own that was not influenced by any of my friends who, like, told me to go see it, or, wow, this movie is great, you have to see it. This is the first time that I took initiative, saw my own movie, and then got to take it to my friends and bestow that gift upon them, and that was great.
I know, and it was a damn good one, too.
I never watch movies. Yeah.
Like, if there is any movie to be, like, a missionary for, it's probably this one, honestly. Like, out of all the movies coming out this year, this is the one to, like, wave people down in the streets and scream at them to go see it in the theater before it's gone. And it is gone now. It's out on digital, and that's sad, because I genuinely, having seen it at home after, like, Jed urged me to go to the theater, he did. And I wanted to make time for it, but I just couldn't budget it in, honestly. Like, money-wise, I couldn't budget another theater trip in on top of new PC and this and that and everything else. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll see it when I get the chance. If a theater showing comes through, I'll fucking see it. Like, if I have time in an afternoon and I have, like, a couple bucks to blow, yeah, I'll do that. And the opportunity just didn't arise, and my heart breaks for that, because I watching it at home, it's very evident that this is a theater movie. And you know, I personally loved it as like a love letter to music, but also like a love letter to culture as a whole, and specifically, weirdly enough, a love letter to vampire movies and like monster movies on the whole. And you know, that was my first thought, like, as I was watching the end of this movie, and because like they had done some stuff earlier in the movie that I won't get into 100%, just because you should see this if you haven't. Before anything is said about it. But, like, they do some stuff earlier in the movie that's very stereotypical vampire movie, but it doesn't really mesh all that well, in my opinion, until it starts meshing. It starts meshing really well, but, like, we're kind of just doing sort of generic-looking vampire stuff in the background, while, like, we tell this story about two men in the South, you know? And this story about three men, actually, if you include, gosh, his name escapes me already. Sammy! Sammy! Right, Sammy! I've heard that audio clip before, I just hadn't ever placed it. But, like, I really liked the vampires in this movie. I liked all the cast. All the cast was fantastic, by the way. I wasn't specifically pointing out the vampires actors as much as, like, I liked the way they did vampires in this. I appreciated how traditional it was. I appreciated, even if it was a little hokey a little bit in some spots, generally it was frightening. It was a nice thriller. It kept me on the edge of my seat as to who was going to get got and who had been had already without my knowledge the whole time. Because there is an aspect, there's like of course it's vampires, so there's a slight like body snatcher aspect to it. And so we play with that a little bit. We play around with music a lot in this movie. The cinematography, the colors in this movie, the color grading in this movie is very vibrant. I love it. It pops very well, I should say. And like, I have a lot of appreciation for this movie as a movie buff. I really, really love this movie. But even as a turn your brain off, I just want to watch a vampire movie, this is up there.
You can enjoy it that way, yeah.
Yeah, this is like the Django Unchained of vampire movies, and that's got nothing to do with like the shared cast members or the slavery subject matter that's brought up a couple times. It's genuinely like Tarantino level hell yeah core. Like it's pretty goddamn good from minute one. And it's got some amazing, compelling characters. It's got an interesting plot line. It has a setting we haven't really seen for a vampire movie ever, which is like, insane to me. It's more art to give to my like area of the country. You guys over there in the Southwest, excuse me. You guys over there in the Southwest have it a little too easy as far as relatability to media goes, in my opinion.
Fucking like, cowboys and shit.
You guys, not just cowboys, California, like all of it, especially Los Angeles, of just like, if you live on the fucking Southwest, if you live in the Southwest, you've seen your home represented on screen 1 billion times. And like, not that the Southeast is necessarily like that bad of a ground, but it's a ground that requires tact if you're going to cover it in any other year that isn't today. You know, and even covering it in the modern day it's always been sort of a tumultuous region, like in terms of like social issues, because it's been pretty regressive as far as that goes, unfortunately. In like historically so anyway. And even today, to a lot of the degree, I'll say it. Fuck it. But like it's good to have a solid piece of like this is the ideal. Like we have a lot of We have a lot of that. This is, well, maybe not ideal. Vampires attacking minorities isn't exactly ideal, but like, you know what I mean? Of just like, this displays the
Oh, yeah.
culture accurately, truly, and well, you know, while also romanticizing it enough to make for an interesting movie, which I actually quite enjoyed. I really enjoyed it. A lot of depictions of the Southeast are like a little bit too lean in on the accents and a little bit too lean in
Yeah.
on the like sort of podunk nature of it. But like, honestly, this movie did a good, respectable job of depicting the places that I'm from and the places that I've been. And you know what? I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with
Yeah.
Sinners as a film. That's what I can say about it, is that like it hit the spot in a lot of really good ways. And it's also like a technical good film as well, through the medium of like the camera angles are good, the writing's good, the cinematography, the writing, the fucking color grading, the like fucking the acting, the music, the all of it. The wardrobe, especially.
Yeah.
Every single aspect of this movie was like on point from a technical perspective and from a viewing perspective, to the point where if this thing doesn't win an Oscar, the Oscars are over, in my opinion. Like, that will be the final straw
Yeah.
for me on the Oscars as a ceremony if this doesn't win more than one award. Genuinely.
Seriously.
Either that or some
yeah,
real
like,
bangers have got to start coming out soon for that to not be true in, like,
yeah.
December. You know?
Yeah, because like genuinely to top this movie, I could see this movie being like one of the best of the decade. Even for me, it's in my personal top 5. But like, I think it would be pretty fucking hard to top this. For like all of the reasons, and you had said it at the end of it, where it's like, yeah, it had enough artsy bits that there's like artsy people who are at the fucking Oscars are gonna like, they'll get to appreciate that part as well.
It can
But
play to
they got
all
to do
audiences,
artsy.
yeah.
Yeah, they did artsy in a way that doesn't take it away from the normal audience who doesn't want to like have to take 20 minutes to interpret the movie afterwards.
It enhances
Um
the casual view. It's artsiness for like done right, and not
yeah.
just for artsiness' sake. Where they got a little involved in it. Ooh, that was a gravelly one. Where they got a little involved with it. My voice has just been all over the place the past couple days. I think I've just been throwing it out, honestly. I think I've just thrown my fucking voice out a little. But they do such a good job in this movie with just everything. What was I saying a second ago? I was making a different point. And now I'm capping it just because I don't know what the hell I was saying. Oh,
Yeah.
it enhances the viewing experience. They did such a good job on that too, where it's artful in such a way that I feel is appropriate. You know, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not hoity-toity in its presentation at all. It appeals to the common watcher. It appeals to the theater goer, but also has enough depth that the theater goer can appreciate deeper than they would appreciate a normal movie. And somebody who comes into it looking for that depth will not be disappointed either, I guess is the way I would put it. It has an appropriate amount of depth for the story it's telling, and it tells it well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I don't think we can talk about it anymore without taking away from like the aspect of watching it. So if you haven't seen Sinners, you should watch it. I would suggest watching it with either headphones that you like or speaker system that is good.
Make sure you
There's
get
a
a
lot
good
of things
sound
in the
system and a
film.
decent screen. Honestly, you will,
Yeah,
like, if you watch this on your phone, you will regret it.
absolutely, 100%.
And I'm
And
not
like
saying that
audio
even from
wise,
like, I'm not even saying that from like a fucking like the perspective of like some hoity-toity director who's like, oh, you don't you dare watch an Alfred Hitchcock movie on your phone, you fuck.
oh
And
yeah,
it's like, no, it's not like that at all. It's genuinely like the sound in this movie is like, this movie sounds so well. It's so well mixed. It's got so much depth in its audio, and the same with its visuals, to the point where, like, if I weren't viewing this on like a nice big blown up 1080p screen with some really solid headphones on, I would feel really disappointed in how I watched the movie. I would feel like I missed
yeah.
something coming out of it, you know,
That's
in
kind of
the
how I
watching
felt.
experience. And that's why I
The
lament
theater
so
I
hard
went
my
to,
like theater experience didn't pan
yeah, the
out.
theater I went to was dark as shit. It was down to like 50% brightness, And that movie is already dark as shit. And a dark as shit movie with a cast of, prominently people with darker skin means that when
You're
you
gonna be
see it
seeing
in
a
a
lot of
dark theater,
silhouettes.
I'm not seeing shit. Like 70% of it was like
The projector's too
squinting and like,
dim,
is that a
dog.
person? No, that's not a person. That's a bush. Oh no, that's a person. He's moving. Okay, no, we're good. Like that's how I spent a good amount of like the background scenes was looking for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also one of those movies that you had referenced Django Unchained. It's pretty fucking similar to that in the same way that like it kind of breaks itself into like two parts of like you have this part of the movie where they're doing this shit, and then you have this part of the movie that is the rest of it
Yeah,
that all
its
takes place in this
storytelling
one
is
area.
also very Django Unchained. Yeah. Like, the whole
Yeah.
vibe is very Django Unchained. So if you liked that movies and you like vampire movies, the fact that you haven't seen this yet is a crime already. Go do that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
like you
go
said,
get
I
to
don't think I
enjoy,
could
like,
really
both of
talk
those.
too much more about this movie without saying things I've already said on repeat. But
Yeah,
you
or
know, those are
spoiling.
my honest thoughts on the movie. Well, I don't have anything to say really about the spoilers of this movie, even. Like, even if we wanted to go there, I genuinely wouldn't have much more to say about it than what I've already said, just because it's remarkably good in a very unremarkable way. Where it's like, yeah, this is fantastic, but all movies should be this. Like, this should be the
Yeah.
standard of quality that I watch movies at, you know? But it's like, it's a
'Cause
really good movie.
It tells everything that it needs to tell. I think that's why we don't have much to talk about it. Is just because like it is its own singular piece of media. It encloses itself and it works well. And there you go. You know. But yeah, that was our sinners moment.
That
And
was
by
our
God,
sinners
I'm glad
moment.
we finally got to have it. Because
Yeah,
I've been
last
waiting on it
week
for
we
like
were so stocked on subjects and topics to talk about that we didn't get to like half the stuff on my or your list. So I've got kind of a beefy one here. These are honestly looking a little shallow, but I'm sure you have some topics too. We've covered like most of my topics now. Like we've covered most of the big important shit that I wanted to get to. So if you got something to go to, let's hear it, man. What's your topic list looking like? Pull us something.
I don't have anything that's like crazy big and important. Really, because
No, but I'm
like
sure you have something to talk about.
everything. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think. Oh, we've
Everything?
been watching more Red versus Blue. We
Red
were
versus
watching some of that.
Blue. I think we talked
and we
about
talked
it.
about that on the podcast last time a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about that last time on the podcast. At that point, I had seen it all, of course, because I've seen the show multiple times
Yeah.
now. This is probably my 6th or 7th rewatch of Red versus Blue, maybe even 8. But like, it's genuinely like such a comfort to me because it's such like a genuinely funny series from back to front in a lot of ways. But Jed, I've been watching it with Jed, and last time we talked about it, we were in the Blood Gulch Chronicles still. I think we're on season 2, maybe 3, and now we're up through season 8 at season 9. So we've made some really good headway on Red versus Blue, and we've gotten somewhere really nice with it where like the next couple of seasons are still pretty damn good, and the last couple that we watched were pretty damn good too. And like we're like at a point where the show is not dropping in quality anytime soon, and we're like dead in the middle of the Freelancer arc where we were dead in the middle of the fucking Blood Gulch Chronicles before. How are you feeling about these two eras of the show and the show as a whole so far as a new viewer?
I'm really enjoying it, honestly. I expected it to be a lot more risque than it was for like the series
Why?
that it
Because
is
it's an
and the
internet
era
comedy
that it
series
came
from 2004.
Yeah,
What would ever give you that idea?
Yeah, I kind of came into it with like, yeah, this is gonna have a lot of like, ooh moments, but no, actually, I haven't had very many of those at all. And
we've had a couple.
Yeah, we get a couple,
not
but
as many
they're
as you would
all
expect.
on like. They're all simply just because of like language has changed and like what we deem as acceptable language to say in a casual context has changed. Not that it was ever good to say those words.
It's not like these characters are bad people, and it's not like you're supposed to hate them. You're supposed to like find them endearing as like kind of just goofy shitheads. And so there are some things that a kind of goofy shithead could get away with saying that you can't get away with saying anymore for good reason. Like, I am not arguing that that shouldn't be the case at all. I'm just saying that, like, those are where a lot of our ooh come from, and not like oh, the writers genuinely wrote that as like a sincere thing they wanted to say. Ooh, you know, it's a lot less of that and more of just like, okay, well, this character, ugh, why do you say that? You know?
Yeah, exactly. And I've also gotten to, over the past few weeks that I didn't prior, you've had me interact with a little bit more of like actual Rooster Teeth outside of it to try to like see some
I've
of the
been
people
nudging
behind
you
it.
in that direction so that you could see some of like the like environment this was made in, and some of the other Rooster Teeth stuff is actually really good. So I'm hoping my grand scheme here is honestly just to watch Red versus Blue with you. But also, if Red versus Blue ends and we're like, man, I want more content like Red versus Blue, there's a lot of disposable Rooster Teeth content out there that would be so easy to just fucking like that matches that we're just guys dicking around vibe. And it's the same guys in a lot of cases, and so it's like, you know, it's very easy to get into those from Red versus Blue, and so I've been just sort of testing waters as to like, how's this? All right, you know, and it's largely been a failure, I'd say, but you know, it's been fun to explore regardless.
Yeah, and we've been talking about it off and on though throughout watching it, is that like, so I came to you as kind of a blank slate, and I gained a lot of like my humor and personality through you and what you've done, and you gained a lot of your personality through the media that you watched as a kid, which happened to be Rooster Teeth. So we're sitting through these, and you're like, yeah, you're looking at like a cousin of the humor that you're into.
Yeah,
And it's
like
really
a distant
fun.
relative, you know, and it is really fun. Oh man. But yeah,
Especially
no,
to see
it's
the
been
similarities and like character traits too. But yeah.
no, yeah, because I forget. It's fun for me as well because I honestly forget a lot of the stuff that I get that's like, oh, that's a Rooster Teeth bit that I just adopted at some point because I thought it was that funny.
Yeah.
And that is really fun to like rediscover those. That's just like a thing where I get, because it's like it there's a point where the thing that I picked up saying when I was like 12 from an internet series is more my thing to me than it is a reference to that internet series. And so when I hear a character in a show from when I was 8, like that was produced when I was 8 years old, say something I say every single day of my life, I go, holy shit, what? That's where I got, okay.
Yeah.
You know, I have just like a moment about it. Like it's like a little, like, it's a little surprise, you know?
Exactly.
It's as though like I've looked into the abyss and the abyss has looked back to me now, you know?
Yeah, I got to have a similar moment with my family recently about
Oh, yeah?
like, oh, that's where I got that. I've been having more and more of those because like
Learning those
I
with
don't
your
know
family
what the
usually
fuck
isn't
is
very
happening.
fun, though.
For me, it's sometimes fun because my family isn't like, not all of our stories are the worst,
Well,
which is
no, but
good.
like the thing about it is just like usually when you like are with a group of family members and go, "That's where I get that." At least in my experience with me, it's
Oh
always a
yeah, it
bad
is
thing.
typically
It's
bad.
typically like a That's where that's where that comes from. All right, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but like I'm trying to think. Accuracy. I just got told. I figured out on my own at some point over the past few months that my grandpa on my dad's side, who I didn't really interact with all that much, was apparently offered to go to the Olympics as a marksman. And
Oh yeah,
I
you told the
finally
story
got that full
privately.
story.
Do you want to tell that
Yeah.
story on the show?
I
It's
guess
actually really interesting.
yeah, I guess I'll tell it here.
It's a
So
long
he
version. Go
used
ahead.
to go to a shooting range. Every week he would go to a shooting range with his brother. And you know, they lived in Burbank and it was 1984. So the Olympics were there that you know, that year. So they had an Olympic shooter who was at the gun club that they were at. And he was shooting,
Mhm.
and then this Olympic shooter goes off. And I don't know if this story is I caught a fish this big or not. However, his brother has attested to this story being the
Ah,
correct one.
that'll be alright. Just tell it anyway. What's the absolute worst?
Yeah,
Nobody's gonna call your fucking like grandpa on this in our
exactly.
comment. Like, just take this story with a grain of salt, dear viewer. Anyhow,
Yeah.
continue on your way, Jim.
But this Olympic shooter is just being a dickhead, and he's got his coach there, and this Olympic
Mhm.
shooter is running his mouth and being an asshole. And my grandpa goes, well, if you think you're so good at like whatever you do, then let's go. Like, let's do a couple of rounds. So they do 600 shots of skeet shooting. And they, 600 different clay pigeons. The Olympic shooter shot 570 or like 564 or something, and then dropped 36. And then my grandpa dropped 4. He only missed 4 of those shots. And the Olympic coach that was there came up to him and went like, dude, do you want to be in the Olympics? You need to be in the Olympics. Your country needs you to be in the Olympics. and he just had to go like, listen, man, I got 3 kids. And that's a lot on my timetable. Because he had asked, like, hey, what does this look like time-wise? Because he was, like, running a business at that point and had 3 kids. And he was just like, yeah, I just can't do it. And that's a way cooler story than I could have fucking ever imagined for I got offered into the Olympics. Because I just assumed it was like, like, somebody saw him and was like, hey, you should be in the Olympics. I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. I didn't expect it to be like an actual like Olympian trainer who was like, please.
Yeah. And maybe it is one of those like fish this big kind of stories. But even if it is, like, the story of that will be way more of an heirloom to you than like the truth of it ever would have been. And it speaks to the image of who you want your grandpa to be, It's sort of that sort of a thing to me, where it's like you sort of let the mythos have its way at some point with like when it comes to like that sort of thing of just like, well, this is unfact checkable one way or the other. Is it more fun for me to believe this? Fine.
Yeah.
Like, does it do any harm for me to, like, assume that he's right on this? Nah. Alright, fine.
Yeah. But that was a fun story that I got to experience over at my dad's house on Father's Day. But yeah. And, like, that's kind of where I got that. Oh, so that's where I got that. Is because I knew that my grandpa on my mom's side was a marksman, too. I just didn't know that, like, we were any good at it. But I'm a pretty good shot. And I was like, oh, that's where I got that. So that's just what reminded me. But yeah. Oh man. What a fucking year it's been already. I keep feeling like
you keep feeling like? Go ahead.
Well, no, I just keep feeling like I have more to express about what has been going on. But there's just been so much that I don't even know what to like. I don't even know how to express it yet. It's just been such an eventful year, good and bad. Like
it's been 6 months, and I feel like it's March.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't know why it's almost July. I genuinely do not know how that happened. I took a hiatus and lost track of time, pretty much. And so, like, the first half of my year is just gone. But hey, routine is everything, and it matters a whole hell of a lot. Could you back up from your mic a little, Jed? I'm getting a little feedback here. But
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. But like I've just been losing track of time in the same way of like VidCon is happening, and I'm seeing a lot of people post about going to VidCon again, and it's really like almost more than the first episode of the show, really marking the show for me, because VidCon was the first like big like thing to happen in like our social circles, like after ConsoleCraft, and we didn't start with the start of ConsoleCraft, so the ConsoleCraft anniversary means almost nothing to like the start of the show, because it happened between that and VidCon. But VidCon happening is so like instrumental to how those first 10 episodes went, for better and for worse, that like seeing everybody going back to VidCon again, like actually going and being there and having a good time and being on day 2 of it, I believe, maybe even 3 at this point. It's genuinely been a lot of fun. It's genuinely been a lot of fun to see, but it's genuinely been like a big eye opener of like, God, it's been a year since the last one? Jesus Christ! And it just really marks the time really like in a really scary way of like, man, we lost 6 months kind of quick,
Yeah. But honestly, it's been fucking eventful as shit in
It
like
has been, and that's
the
why we
world
lost 6
sphere and
months that
otherwise.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got anything in
Yeah.
specific you want to talk about? You got anything at
From
all that
this
like happened
year.
this year that you want to talk about so far? Now that we're about at the halfway mark.
Yeah. The halfway mark of the year. Yeah. Sorry, I was like the
Yeah.
halfway mark, and then I like I had
No,
this
no.
moment where I was like, oh my
Anyway.
god, 3 hour show. But yeah.
Jesus, no.
From the stuff that has happened this year, I
No, no way.
genuinely I think that my favorite thing to come out of it has been the changes in like our personal group. Because the 6 months that we have been away has been, and this feels like kind of a cop out answer, but this is the one that impacts me the most. Of like all of us have kind of like matured into quite different but the same people nonetheless. And we're all kind of just hitting our like, okay, it's time to mature in different ways. Um and that's been really nice. It's been really nice to have a lot of group change going on, because like I've done a lot of personal change, but it so rarely lines up for everybody.
Yeah.
And
And
that's just what's made like 2025 special.
it has been a big year for that. It's been an immense year for that because, like, pretty much everybody in our private friend circle, and I won't get into specifics for obvious reasons, but
Oh
pretty
yeah.
much everybody, ourselves included, in our private circles has been having, like, major life breakthroughs and, like, hey, I need to work on this for myself, or I need to do that. And honestly, I'll say it up front, it can be really scary to make that realization for yourself, and maturing and growing as a group has genuinely tackling that like the like dark tunnel you got to get down to like get to the other side and make it to like, yeah, no, it I'm good, I'm where I want to be now. Like that is a lot easier to do with 3 to 4 other people also at various stages of it, you know. And it really makes me hopeful
Yeah.
because when one of us succeeds, it makes me hopeful for all of us, you know, in our current ventures. And then like we all end up getting there, and we're all better for it as a unit, I find. And so yeah, no, you're right. It has just been a big personal year, as much of a cop out as that feels to say. I'm just like, well, I've been working on myself, you know. Like as much as it like seems like a cop out to say that, it genuinely has been where we've been all this time, just like sitting and contemplating and living like Greek philosophers. And by that I mean getting high more often than we should and kind of just hanging out and figuring ourselves
Yeah.
out and having a lot of really intelligent, sober conversations about. I would like to specify sober because I just said we get high a good amount, but just because we partake on like weekends and such doesn't mean we haven't been working. We've been having a lot of
Yeah.
sit down discussions of this makes me feel this way and I don't know why. And we've honestly have sort of like a fucking I feel like we have way more of a support structure in our friend group between us than we did before. Not that we didn't have that
For
connective
sure,
tissue, not that
yeah.
we couldn't vent to each other or level those kind of things at each other when we had an issue, but like it's a lot easier now that we've all done it once or twice recently to be able to address things
Yeah.
like address these changes as they happen, you know. And it's been very healing for me to be in a situation where everybody is also like openly very flawed and openly very working on it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cause like that's the hard part is just saying like, yeah, I'm flawed currently. And like the only way this is going to change is with time. Are you willing to sit through with me for it? And like having people that will be like, yeah, yeah, of course, is very nice. It is a very change of pace for me, especially for like friend group reasons. Um and then world events wise, I don't know. Do you have any marking events about 2025 that you would want to talk about?
Nothing good.
Yeah, because like that's the issue, is that's what I ran into, was like, yeah, 2025 has been an eventful year, but is it anything that I want to bring up on the podcast other than like the good personal changes we're going through?
I do have some news
Um,
topics, but they're recent news topics. I didn't realize we were having a 2025 year in review episode on June, like on like the third week of June. But you know, so I didn't
yeah,
exactly
no, you had just
prepare
said
any.
it.
This year has been an event. I said it. You've been the one who's been like every time a
I
topic
have
winds
been,
down,
yeah.
going. But yeah, man, the year's been real eventful so far. It's like that's why we had that discussion just now, because I had to full stop you and go, dude, talk about one. Pick one, please. We can't just keep looping around to life has
Yeah.
been eventful in ways I don't want to talk about. But moving forward, it has been eventful recently in that the Switch 2 came out. We talked about that a little bit, but apparently, like, after a little while, the reports are in that Mario Kart is fun, but, like, unremarkable, really. It's just another Mario Kart. It's an improvement to the series about as much as you would think it would be, which is a good amount. But, like, it does enough to innovate itself, but, like, it's another Mario Kart, really, at its core. And people are having an okay time with it. I don't know that I like the Switch 2 era at all, based on the games that we've looked at so far. They all seem really shallow and like both overproduced and not like devoid of anything worth playing beyond like an arcade setting, you know? And so like I genuinely just like
one?
yeah, with the like Donkey Kong Pauline stuff, because we're going back on a bunch of stuff we've already established for the franchise for a cheap, hey, look, we have a new design of Pauline.
No, that's true.
That we can sell like merchandise of.
Yeah, I had just like I've only seen positive things about it, so I was genuinely just wondering. I don't have a ton
I've only
of
seen
opinions
positive things,
about
but like very unremarkable things. Like the more I look into reviews beyond headlines, it seems like in the actual bodies of these reviews, a lot of the reviewers are like, yeah, this is good because it's this year's Mario Kart, so of course it's good. Or this is this system's Mario Kart, so of course it's good. You know, it's got to be good enough to stand the test of time, and Nintendo doesn't usually put out a bad game. That's why we put up with all the other bullshit they do. But is it a good enough game to buy a brand new console for right now? No. Neither is Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
You know, judging by, like, the trailers and, like, the reception of it. It seems like the hardcore Nintendo fans will get a ton out of it. I used to be a Nintendo guy. I just am not in the slightest anymore. I really like the Nintendo stuff. I really do. But the modern day Switch 2 era just is not roping me in yet. Maybe it will. It's early on to say.
Yeah.
But I got no reason to buy one of those consoles right now, and I don't see one coming. You know?
Which is funny, because, like, you were my, like, Nintendo guy for a long time. It's really bizarre for you to take, like, a similar stance to, like, what I do for Nintendo consoles, which is just, like, yeah, I mean, it's there. And that's honestly sad. It is sad to see somebody like you just kind of weighing on that and just due to that. But that's sort of I don't know, disillusioned with certain companies.
Disillusioned is the word. Yeah. They were a company I liked a lot as a kid, and then I enjoyed a lot of the stuff of as a kid, but now that I'm a little bit older, I can see that, like, all the characters kind of look like lifeless dolls a little bit, and, like, all the animations are nice, but, like, beyond a superficial, oh, look at that, it's not really worth seeing more than once, you know? And so, like,
yeah,
a lot of these games just, like, a lot of the stuff I'm seeing for Switch 2 specifically has just been very shallow and lacking in depth for what I want. Those are the same thing, but, like, I'll say it twice to make it nice, you know? Because, like, I genuinely just don't have any other thought on it, other than, like, yeah, it looks fine, I'm not really all that interested. And it seems like a lot of journalists tend to agree, which is weird.
Yeah, we've never really had a Nintendo console that came out that was just like, yeah, it's fine. That's the weird thing about it, is because almost every Nintendo console has either been like, fuck yeah, this is great, or this shit's terrible, Nintendo, what are you doing?
Yeah, and then there's like, I think it's the fact that this is just an extension of the Switch era, practically. Like, we're just moving, like, we're going into 7 more years of Nintendo Switch is what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're just upgrading the hardware and pushing Nintendo Switch as a brand even further, to the point where I didn't want them to make a Switch 2 because then they're going to become the Switch company. The third console they make after the Switch 1 and 2 isn't going to be a Switch, and when it comes out, people are going to go, did you get the new Switch? When it's like, it's not a Switch, it's the new Nintendo console, you know? Like, they will have that negative brand identification of like, well, is that the new Nintendo console? It doesn't say Switch on it, so I guess not, you know? Where, like, I think they're gonna get the opposite of the Wii U thing, where people expect the Switch branding so regularly by then, because by then it will have been around for 20 years. That, like, 20 years, dude. And, like, if we keep this up as long as the Switch 1 was, 14 at least. And, like, that's a long time to have one console branding and not keep it. PlayStation and Xbox get away with that because they do the next Xbox and the next PlayStation. They're kind of setting themselves up for failure in that, like, if you don't want to keep making the next Switch every time, you're gonna be out of luck,
Stop
dude,
doing it,
when you have to make the next one.
Because, like,
And I know Nintendo, and I
That's
know how they get so goddamn restless, or they used to get so goddamn restless about their hardware and want new shit. So I'm almost certain that they will, like, this era will last 3 to 5 years, and then they will announce something new again. That's
I
also
really
part of
hope
it. Is
so.
like, maybe financially they'll like, if it were just, if the finances are making the decisions, this goes on another 7 years. But if Miyamoto wakes from his slumber and fucking snaps and goes, look, man, I can't have this console that looks like this on my goddamn shelf anymore, and then we're gonna fucking get a new one. That if like the creative
Wakes up to
research and
his fucking
development.
Nintendo alarmy.
Yeah, if fucking Miyamoto and the rest of the research and development team over there that make those sorts of creative decisions decide, yeah, fuck the fucking Switch. I don't want Joy-Con no more. I want to invent a new controller. I would like to invent a new peripheral, please. You know? When they inevitably hit that, like, thing, because they've hired mostly people who worked on the Wii, and even before then, like, even before the Wii, like, they still loved their peripherals over there quite a bit. So it's literally only a matter of time before this thing goes the way of the Sega, where they're just strapping more and more shit onto it, or they just replace it outright with a completely different console. Mark my words.
Yeah.
5
'Cause,
years,
like,
the Switch 2
genuinely,
will either have 10 to
especially
15 accessories you have to have with it to use every feature of it, or alternatively, there will be a new console. And I think that's already demonstrated by the fact they want to sell you a camera with the console separately that plugs into it. Like,
yeah.
we've already started
Yeah.
that feature creep of peripherals. Anyway.
I think genuinely they're going to get fucked though, especially with the new landscape since Xbox has like teamed up with ROG. And they're making like the ROG Xbox thing.
I got that on my topic list. We can
I
talk
think
about
they're
that a good bit
boned.
too.
Yeah, I think they're genuinely fucked because Nintendo's whole shtick was for a long time this like portability to home play with the Switch, and now that that is a standard, like that is becoming a standard, whether it be the what was it, the PlayStation Portal, which was that little handheld streaming device that they had
like
that was
glorified
kind of a Switch.
Wii U gamepad that like can't even
I
run games
know.
on its own and has to be near the system or connected over Wi-Fi to it to matter. Yeah. If
Yeah,
you bought
like
that, you
that.
wasted your money so hard, dude. I hate to tell you. Anyway, you're saying?
Yeah. But like that was like the beginning of it, and now that Xbox has released this like fully self-contained platform that does run the same OS as Xbox, if they
Right.
don't get on it, they're going to be fucking eaten alive by all the other companies that are like, yeah, we'll make hardware that you can take portably that can run things at not the worst thing you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Because that's the issue with Nintendo is that Nintendo has always been a not hardware first kind of company. And that's kind of where they're going right now is like this focus on doing the Switch and not necessarily the games on it. Because
Yeah.
hell, even if we
The
were to do
luster, the
another,
Nintendo luster will fall away. And do you know how I know it's already starting to fall away for some people? I got multiple videos recently within the past few days of people just mauling at Steam Deck users for like going, yeah, you guys
yeah,
bought a Switch 2? This thing will be able to play Switch 2 games as soon as an emulator is developed, dog. You let it happen. And it's like you watch it happen. It'll go. And everybody's like, "Oh, just buy a Switch at that point. If you're just going to use it to play Switch games, then buy a Switch." And it's like, "Nah, I can do more than that, man." And it's like
yeah,
unprovoked. Like not directly at anybody commenting at them, just screaming out into the void about how they hate the Steam Deck because the Switch is infinitely better in like the most mauling cope like tone I've ever heard in my life. It's insane.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
And it's like
No,
some
'cause
people
that
enjoy their
happened
Switch
when the
2s.
Steam Deck first came out.
Yeah, that happened when the Steam Deck first came
Mhm.
out, and that discourse is kind of back now. But people like their Switch 2s, and I want to say that if you like your Switch 2 and you're happy with Mario Kart and you think the new Donkey Kong game looks cool and you have a Switch and you're satisfied with the purchase, more power to you. Go for it. Have at. I don't mind.
Mhm.
But like I'm saying this more to the people who are just like that, getting like angry on the internet that somebody else has a device that's better than yours, you know? Even though you
Yeah,
totally
and
could have
'cause, like,
bought that for cheaper because the Switch 2 is $500.
and don't get me wrong, like the Switch 2 is not necessarily a bad idea. In the same way that I agree that the Xbox ROG thing is not necessarily a bad idea. It just depends on the type of person you are. I actually just had a conversation with an old friend of mine
No,
from
yeah.
high
The
school
form factor
where
matters,
it's like,
yeah.
yeah, where it's like for my mom, I would recommend her getting a Switch too. Even though it's not a good bang for your buck, what she uses it for, a Switch will be more than enough and it'll work perfectly. And it gets the add-on of like, this is a UI made for like, you know, every age, so she won't have to struggle with like fucking Linux.
The thing about I love my Steam Deck to death. If you're not willing to tinker with it, don't buy one. Genuinely, if you want this in the same way you want like a regular portable where you could just pick it up, turn it on, play a game, and it'll function every time, that'll be fine. But during setup for some things, when you go to set some stuff up, like even just for regular Steam games, some of the depth of things you can do with this console will get in your way. Like, it will get in your way if you are not prepared to tinker with it a little bit, you know? And so, like, I just wouldn't recommend it for everybody. I think it's great. I think it's probably one of the best bang for your buck handhelds you can get right now, especially with the being, like, $100 cheaper than the Switch right now, the new Nintendo Switch. But, like, if you want to play the new Mario Kart, or you're just a guy with an Xbox who wants to continue to be able to play his games in sort of a Steam Deck-esque fashion, get one of those two. Get a Switch too, or get the Xbox or Ally X and get on with your life. You know?
Is that what it's called?
The Ally X, I think, is what they're calling it. I double-checked that earlier, and I, like, everybody else was calling it that. So, worst case, we're wrong with everybody. But the Xbox Ally X, we can talk in detail about that. I think it's a cool idea. I think it's good the Steam Deck has competition. I think this is another, like, half-ass ploy by Microsoft to win over Steam. I think this is their chance. I think
it's very possible.
I think Microsoft has Microsoft has been on their shit about, first it was this, then it was that, then it was the Windows Store, and now that they see the Steam Deck out there running Linux, they got to get something running their OS out there the same way, you know? Because they can obviously see just as well as everybody else can. The Windows' stranglehold on being able to play PC video games is falling fast. You can play almost anything you want on Linux nowadays. Like, Linux support has gone through the roof since the Steam Deck came out. Because the demand is so much higher, you know? And because of that, so much shit is playable on Linux that you could switch to Linux today. And that's a real problem for Microsoft. I wouldn't, because again, same thing as with the Steam Deck, where if you're using a device that runs Linux, occasionally during setup, it's going to get in your fucking way a little more than you'd want it to. And so, like, if you're not prepared to troubleshoot it. And so, like, I don't want to move to that because Windows is genuinely just that much easier to use for me personally, that I would rather be here for now. But once they develop enough of a Windows-like environment where it's, like, still doable, like, but you can still operate Linux, and those exist as distributions, sure, but, like, Linux as a whole needs to get a little more user-friendly before I'm willing. Like, you need to not have to open a terminal for nearly as much shit. Like, I need a distro that does that before I need anything else, you know? A distro where I will never, ever have to open a terminal, except for when I would have to in Windows anyway, you know?
Yeah. For, like, running weird commands and shit. I don't want to have to, like, unpack folders via command, you know?
Yeah, I don't want to use command prompt
is a thing
for that. I want to fucking right-click it. Yeah, it is. I've done it. It's a pain in the neck.
Yeah, it's a bitch.
Compared to right-click, unzip, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't think we're that far off. The issue with Linux is that, like, there's not a single person developing Linux, really, you know?
There's not, like, an organization behind
Linux.
Different branches,
it's just
sort of everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Microsoft has been losing their grip on PC gaming, and I think, like, and you can see it in Windows between, like, the Xbox app and the Microsoft Store and all of those wonderful places that you could buy a video game if you were a psychopath. Who didn't care about his time, money, or ability to download said game after he buys it. Because that's a genuine problem I've had with the Xbox app for years across multiple machines is, dude, sometimes you start a download on the Xbox app and it just won't go. It just straight up won't go. It just does not do it. Like, like, at least Steam functions every time. And like, Steam has won solely because they do make a product that functions every time, you know? Even if the Steam Deck itself can be a little bit of a mess, like, Steam as a piece of software on my computer has never ever given me a problem big enough that I would even vaguely consider switching away from it, even if it weren't for, like, the cost of my entire Steam library. Like, Even if a service came along that was like, yeah, you can play your whole Steam library. We'll vouch you for all of those. You can have your entire game library back and be on our platform. They would still have to sell me on more before I would even vaguely consider ditching Steam because it's been that reliably good of a product for this long. And Microsoft's, like, throwaway attempts at trying to, like, beat that have now led them to, like just full-on harnessing the Xbox name to do it. And honestly, I think the ROG Ally X can be, or the Xbox Ally X, or whatever we're calling it, whichever one it goes under, is just the latest in a series of, yeah, we'll get Asus to do it. We'll slap an Xbox logo on an ROG Ally. Will it be good for people who want a portable Xbox? Yeah, it will be. It'll be fantastic for them. I don't disagree with that at all. But from a like PC gaming market share politics perspective, this is a bad fucking move. This is a poor fucking move. Because from what I've heard, the ROG Ally is already stomped by the Steam Deck in every regard, just about, with the exception of this one has the latest Ryzen 7 in it. The only thing they beat you out in is slightly better hardware, but even there, their thermals are way fucking worse than the Steam Decks, and so is their battery life.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, those are the trade-offs you make, and those are fine trade-offs if you just want a more powerful handheld. Like, don't get me wrong, I've spoken about a lot of handhelds today, very negatively, but I want to say that all of them are equally valid of you to own. Like, I want to own all of them, but I'm just saying, as somebody who owns one, the Steam Deck is the one for me, I think. It is the all-rounder best, and it has its downsides, but I've made my peace with them, and like, all of them have equivalent downsides just about in that regard, where it's like, they're downsides, they're cons, sure, but they're not cons you can't live with, you know? It's not like the thing is going to do what ROG Allies did when they were sent out to reviewers, where they're gonna fucking melt the SD card inside of the system because the thermals are that bad. You're just gonna have a slightly worse time in a slightly hotter setting, you know? Is the worst of it, you know? And, like, that'll be fine. If that's what if you're cool with that, and, like, that's pretty openly advertised. They don't try to hide that at all. So if you're cool with that trade-off, make that trade-off every day. Go for it. You know, you do you when it comes to, like, your console choices. I'm just saying that, like, in a vacuum, like, not even, like, considering my Steam bias, I don't see the Xbox ROG Ally X doing all that well. Like, in terms of longevity. I think it'll be here, like, 3 years, and then people will go, remember that time Xbox and Asus made a thing together? Anyway, that was weird, wasn't it? And then we will have all forgotten anything, like, more than that about it. Because the way Microsoft is running is very consumer-friendly, but not very friendly to the success of their business and their brand, in that they have 0 exclusives now. You know, everything that's on Xbox is on PC, and I love that. And Game Pass is awesome, too. But, like, honestly, people are going to buy this as their Game Pass machine, you know, more than anything else. Like, that's the only reason I consider getting an Xbox. You know?
That was the main thing that I was telling my friend, was like, hey, I know, like, he stayed on Xbox when I diverged to PC. He got a PC before me, and he just never made the switch. He just couldn't do it, I guess. And, like, I was like, yeah, man, if you want to have your Xbox games, then get that. But honestly, Steam Deck's just better bang for your buck, mainly because of, like, even excluding all the hardware differences and the fact that the Steam Deck is verifiably better in those circumstances.
I can vouch that the Steam Deck is fucking comfy, too. That is, it genuinely, like, in the same way of the Valve Index to me now that I've had some time to sit with it and really, like, I haven't used the stock, it was because I was using, like, a bunk-ass faceplate and didn't bother getting used to the stock one. I put the stock one back on it, and it fits me fine now. I'm fine again. It just didn't fit well when I got it, I guess, and so I swapped out of it. But genuinely, it's like, it's like a fucking sports car. That thing. It's nice. It feels very upscale in its, like, physicality. Software side, it can use some work, but physically in the hand, the Steam Deck feels very luxury. It feels like something you paid $600 or $700 for, build quality wise, instead of something you paid $3 or $4. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
You certainly get what you should out of it comfort-wise, and I just can't vouch for that for the ROG Ally, you know? Because I've never had one in my hands to see that. So that's a bias I have.
It's like trying to convince somebody to buy a fucking electric car, where it's like, yeah, man, you may, not need that whole thing, but you don't realize that's as like not a big issue as much as you think it is. You just think that's a big issue because you're used to it that way. Where like the Steam Deck people are very like averse to doing mobile gaming in that way, or at least through Steam. And it's like, no, dude, it's fine. Like you're gonna the electric car will pay for itself in a few years because it will fucking save you on money. And like the Steam Deck will do the same thing. Yeah, you might not have your game library, but if you just take that plunge into going into Steam, you're going to save money in the long run. I 100%
Because Steam
guarantee
has been
that,
around
because,
for 20 years and has no sign of stopping. They're
and they
like
have 4 massive sales a year at least.
yeah, where like $60 games are as low as $5 on those sales. Like it's genuinely absurd. I don't think I've paid
up to 98%.
Well, WWE 2K aside, because I bought that the day it came out. I don't. Other than that, though, I don't think I've paid $60 for a video game since before I got my first gaming PC. Genuinely, I don't think I've paid 60 bones full price for a video game in that long since I made the switch to buying shit on Steam all those years ago. And genuinely, I would never go back. I would never go back to paying like if half the games in my library cost me full price to have, I wouldn't have them. And I would never have had the experiences I had with them. And I would be very disappointed in myself if I did spend that kind of money on them. But they come out at fair prices, and they're good. And a lot of people think that because, like, oh, yeah, you're getting a $60 game for $5, but what game is it, you know? And it's like, no, these are AAA fucking titles. Like, you could get Elden Ring was on sale for $20. 20 bones.
Yep.
The price of a couple of fucking pizzas, and you can have one of the best games to come out in 2019.
Even if you are that kind of person like me, who when a game first comes out, I generally like to pick it up within the first like month of it coming out, just because that's when I enjoy games the most. That's when they have the most hype. That's when everybody's most excited about them.
Then you play the game and you open your phone and your Twitter feed is like occasionally posts about it and your TikTok is occasionally posts. So you get like random little blurbs of like, oh man, here's a guy also enjoying this game. And so it feels very communal. Yeah. You know?
I like to do that, but even for somebody like me, it saves you so much money because then it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Dead by Daylight's cool and all. I don't know if I would ever get into it. Dead by Daylight's $5. Yeah, sure, it's $5. Cool. You know, like
even if I don't manage to get into it, the time I spend getting into it will be worth $5. Yeah. That is it gateway drugs you into so much spending. But like it's all like dude, there's a website where you can go and check. There's a website, like a third-party thing that uses like Steam's database to like you put in your like user ID and it goes, you've spent X amount of dollars total over the years on Steam. Like accounting for refunds, this is how much you've spent. Like it does all the math on like it's got record of all your refunds, it's got record of all the DLC, all the like shop points stuff you've ever bought is like listed on how many shop points you have and how many you've spent, things like that. Like all sorts, dude. And it shows it year by year, too. You can see it in a graph of, like, I spent, like, this much this year, that much that year. There's the year I got my Index. There's the year I got my Steam Deck. You know, because those are factored in, too.
Let alone.
And so it's, like, in the thousands of dollars.
Policy.
The Steam refund policy is an amazing seller. We don't need to be selling people on Steam, necessarily. But I think that it's, like, that's what I'm saying, though, is, like, we don't have to sell Steam at all. Everybody knows about this. So when you run into somebody who doesn't know anything about it, it's like, dude, nah. Come over here real quick.
You need to get a Steam, get a Steam machine of some sort, whether it be a shitty little laptop that you could run like Plants vs Zombies off the Steam store. Sure, anything. Like if you
whatever
can get
it
your
is.
hands on
Shitball Dell Optiplex, no
Steam,
graphics card, Intel integrated graphics. You can play games from 20 years ago, so you're fine. Go ahead. Like CPUs in shitball computers have gotten good enough that it's like you can still play classics like Half-Life, Portal. All the Valve-made stuff, beyond the Valve-made stuff, because a lot of people see that and they go, well, I don't really have interest in Portal or Half-Life, so I don't really see much reason, or Team Fortress, so I don't see much reason in getting in Valve's ecosystem if, like, I don't really want to play any of the Valve games. But it's like, nah, genuinely, like, look at the store, man. Like, go out, go check it out. Like, I feel like that is, like, otherworldly almost. Speaking of otherworldly, just to find somebody who doesn't know anything about that. Another bonus that we haven't really talked about this much. And I guess this can be one of our last topics for the show because I bet this will last a minute. Recently when I got my new PC, obviously I handed my old PC, which still works fine, it's still functional, again, I've talked about all that. I handed it down to Basil, my husband, and he's been doing a lot of stuff with it. And this is the first time he's had, like, a desktop computer to play video games and what that can run video games and run software well enough that it's not going to crash with 2 tabs open, you know? And so, like, he's really learning the ecosystem of it and everything. And it's been really interesting because we were playing Minecraft the other day. This is an anecdote that should line it up of, like, really interesting where the knowledge gaps lie and, like, how cool it is to be able to, like, teach somebody this stuff or, like, help them out with it. Of, like, he had heard about this before and knew that that was the mapping, just did not have it down on where it is on the keyboard to do it. But he was like, man, I'm looking at this build and I'm looking at this thing and I'm trying to, like, he was trying to do the thing that I do, where you pull up the coordinates, screenshot it, and then, like, you have the screenshot with the coordinates and the thing on it, so you know what it's for. Which is a really smart way to do that if you don't already. But either way, he was doing that with something. He's like, I really want to mark this in my coordinates, but I don't want to, like, I don't know how to screenshot. And I went, oh, hit F2. And he went, oh, okay. And I was like, holy shit, you didn't know that? Like, I had a moment where I was like, you didn't know to hit F2 to take a screenshot in Minecraft? And that's specific to that game, I guess. But that's such a universal keybind, like, knowledge thing. Yeah. Like, the keybinds of Minecraft on the function keys, I'm pretty sure you could say, like, you could say F5 to most people our age and they would think third person immediately. Like, that's probably the third person button, you know? Like, to the point where it's like, Minecraft is such a PC game that I feel that anecdote.
Like us.
I feel like that anecdote translates. Well, nerdy dickheads, Jed. This is the top-selling game of all time, and we came out at, like, the right age to get it, like, crack, dude. Our generation is the Minecraft generation. But regardless, you know, like, that aside, like, beyond nerdy dickheads and, like, specific video games, there have been a lot of times where it's like, dude, yeah, no, just do this. Why don't you just do it this way? And so it's been, like, genuinely fun to run into issues where somebody's like, I just don't know how to fucking fix this. I've been working on it for 10 minutes. I don't know what to do. And walk over and just go click, click, click. That's how you do it.
Yeah, we got to have a very unique one together that I had to point out
you
in the moment, story? And I felt kind of bad. Yeah, we were setting up Basil's PC, or Basil was setting up their PC, and Vox and I were bumming around in the VC. And we hear in the background, it's just, we aren't getting video. There's not any fucking video happen. I plugged it in, the HDMI's in, it's in the monitor has power, the power supply has power, the thing is turned on, it has lights on, but there's no video. And Vox goes back there, and I just hear a laugh, and I go, he plugged it into the motherboard, didn't he? And he went, yep. And we both got to share a laugh of, like, everybody has their first experience with the computer where they go, why the fuck doesn't this HDMI port work? Oh, this isn't the HDMI port, it's the one below it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, to the point where that's an internet meme.
Like, it's such a ubiquitous thing, and he didn't realize because he, like, obviously, he's never done this before.
Yeah.
So it's, like, a really, like, weird piece of knowledge for him to have. And so, like, not only has he never done this before, he doesn't know the cultural thing of, like, yeah, everybody does that. That is everybody does it at some point. We're laughing with you, not at you. You know? And so,
exactly.
The second I walked over, and I looked at it and grinned right before I smiled, and he was like, what? What is it? Like, under his breath, he's like, what's the matter? What's so funny? And, like, he was looking at me with this, like, look of confusion, like he had done something really stupid. Which I guess he had, kinda, but it's not really stupid in that, like, it's really stupid if I had done it. Like, it's a silly mistake. Yeah. It's like a 2-second fix, and that's what's really funny about it. And so, and then you go, he plugged it into the motherboard, didn't he? And then he makes this face like, where the hell else am I supposed to put it? And I'm laughing harder because of that.
Yeah.
And, like, he's getting the hang of it now, and it's great. And we just get to have a lot of those little moments like that with him, and I think it's really fun, you know? And, like, it's no detriment to him whatsoever. He understands that, like, yeah, you guys don't think I'm fucking dumb. You guys understand I've just never done this, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just funny for, like, Vox and I, because, like, we had both been managing computers for quite a while, you know? I got into it later than Vox did, because, like, my experience prior to, like, being, like, full reign on the internet.
Yeah, I had a very bad parenting situation. I don't want to, like, say this as a brag at all. I was sat in front of a computer for, like, an hour a day, every day, for, like, as, like, a fuck off and go on the computer, you have an hour. Like they were smart enough to know about like the computer enough to know I should be supervised and limited to some degree, but dumb enough to kind of just let me do whatever on the family computer. And so from age like 4 or 5 up, before I could really even like read and write well, I was like clicking on shit and figuring out how the computer worked to some degree. So I've been fucking with this shit for 20 years. So, like, there's, like, not a lot of rudimentary knowledge gaps left for me. And so it's, like, almost like I get to have those little moments of naivete with him, almost. Like, I get to see it again through the eyes of somebody brand new to it. And it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's actually very pleasant.
It is very nice. Yeah, and that's something that we've been talking about as, like, I don't know. I've been having that about hardware as well, just because, like, you've been working with a lot more hardware, and I've worked with a lot of hardware, building 5 PCs in my lifetime.
I never really have opened anything that I wasn't cool with breaking in the process, and so, like, working on my computer and, like, how rough you need to be with these very sensitive parts is sadistic. Frankly, I'd like to say,
the hardest part.
The people who build computers need to fucking loosen up, alright? We need to have an industry-wide moment of, dude, I shouldn't have to put actual, like, I shouldn't have to tense my muscles to move this thing that, like, to unhook this part that, like, costs me $1,000 if I pull it too hard.
Like,
you know?
That's the fucking hardest part about it, is because Vox is trying to, like, we're trying to troubleshoot some hardware, and I'm like, yeah, so take the 24 pin, which is the notoriously hardest cord to take in and out. It is a bitch. And I was like, okay, take it, gently wiggle it back and forth, and pull. And you're like, it's not going fucking anywhere. And I was like,
it genuinely wouldn't go anywhere.
Kind of yank it. And he went, fucking no! No, you don't just kind of fucking yank it. I paid $1,000 for this. I'm not just yanking it. And I was like, yeah, you kind of have to, though.
Yeah, but that was the moment I had with it. Was like, I have to kind of trial by fire it, but it was like, dude, I was watching the motherboard come up off the fucking, like, backing a good bit. Like, to the point where it looked like you could graph the curve of how much it was off the thing with how much weight it had down on it. That meant that I was probably going to fucking break something if I pulled it any harder. So I was sure I was fucking something up somewhere. Like, I'm sure if you did it, you would do it right and not break it. I just had no real assurances beyond you looking at a very blurry, kind of dark camera angle of what I'm doing and going, yeah, it looks about right. And so I was like, no, under these conditions, I will not just fucking yank something. Because you went, no, I think you should just fucking, I think you should just yank it at this point. And I went, dude, no. Because I was like, you said that? And I went, yeah, that's what Jed would do. What happens every time Jed tries to fix something? He fucking breaks his computer for the day and has to go to Best Buy and get a new part. Genuinely every time. Or open up his other computer and steal from it, if possible. I don't have another computer to steal from, nor a Best Buy nearby to do. I have zero say. If this goes wrong, I'm without a computer for weeks, if not months. So no, I don't want to just yank my shit instantly.
No, but like, that is the thing, is that is how that part is made. Like that's the horse shit about PCs.
Because I guess the point is you don't want it coming out, so it's gotta be in there, you know? And so you gotta really put some muscle into getting it back out. And it's like, no, dude, fuck that.
I had this same situation with my stepdad the first time I built my PC, where I was like, I don't want to fucking touch anything in here. Are you sure? Like, are you sure I have to click in the RAM that hard? And then he takes the stick of RAM and clicks it in, and it's just like, yes, click it in. And then I did, and it's fine. And like, once you get over that hurdle and you've had somebody who's been like, yes, I've worked on multiple computers, this is fine, this is how it works. When you have somebody there with you, it makes it a lot more easy to just like, all right, take the plunge on it. But,
yeah, I'm not sitting alone in my bedroom. Well, my husband was there, but we just talked about his ability to handle computer hardware and his knowledge on the subject. Yeah. And so practically just alone in my bedroom, just sitting yanking cords in my computer. I did not feel comfortable doing it under that setting. No.
Yeah, with like a vague direction.
Well, we didn't get it done. The cord never came out, but it got fixed regardless because the cord wasn't the issue at all. But anyway, that's beside the point. That is the point. That's besides the point of the episode, though, because the episode is just about up. I think we're a little over time. Mm-hmm. We kind of bruised through that a little bit, but either way, it's been an awesome show. Thanks for joining us today. You could find more every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find that pre-show I was talking about in the Patreon link down below. And you can find just about everything else, including our socials, down below in the Fight About It card page, where you can find all of that inclusive. So, Sundays, 3 p.m., show comes out. You can find it on Spotify and YouTube. It premieres on YouTube. And over there, you can get, like, a live chat, and you can hang out with people and watch the show and comment on the show. And sometimes we're there. And those are great. We can't be there for every one of them, but we're there for a few of them. And so, yeah, it's a good time. And it's been a good time. And it's been a good week. And I think that's about it for this week's episode of Fight About It. Goodbye, everybody.